John Hope Bryant, I want to thank you so much for joining me for this bonus episode of Spolitics because there are some financial things happening in sports that I wanted to get your input on. Number one is the fact that the Los Angeles Lakers have just sold for $10 billion. Now, you were the first person I thought of when this sale went down. And that is because when you appeared as a guest on Spolitics previously, I remember we had this back and forth, this dialogue about whether or not it was a good idea for Michael Jordan to have sold his majority share in the Charlotte Hornets. And I believe what you told me was like, hey, businesses are meant to be sold. That's the whole point of it, kind of. Now, given what the Buss family, what they built with the Lakers, I get it. It's $10 billion. But we're talking about something that was family owned and deeply a part of their identity as a family. What were your thoughts about the Lakers and the Buss family deciding to sell their portion, or not their entire portion, but they're giving up majority share of the Lakers?
Good timing. Look, you want to be Netflix, not Blockbuster. Blockbuster had ego, and they were like, "Hey, I mean, I'm sure you remember. You're young, but you remember there was a time where every date was a Blockbuster date.
Mhm.
Even it was during the week. You'd add $5 or $10 to the manager of Blockbuster. Hey, look, this is a movie I'm looking out for me. Put that one to the side for me. Don't act like you didn't do it.
I totally did. Yeah,
right?
definitely.
And don't talk about a Saturday night. My God, that might be 20 or $40. Hey, look, this is a movie. I'm looking for. And when Netflix, Blockbuster got so arrogant about their market share and market protections and how much they controlled the entertainment market of household entertainment. They When Netflix went to them to be sold for $50 million to sell themselves to Blockbuster for $50 million, Blockbuster turned their nose up at them and said, "We're Blockbuster. We don't need anything." And you go far enough to the North Pole, you end up south.
Mm.
And of course, Blockbuster then filed bankruptcy. I think there's one Blockbuster location still surviving. It's in Alaska right now. It's a novelty. But Netflix makes that in a day. The purchase price that they were going to sell um, themselves to Blockbuster for, Netflix makes that in a day or less. And you remember when there were Kodak booths in every parking lot in America, right? We all remember J.C. Penney's, who just laid off a bunch of folks and closed some stores. We remember Kmart, Sears. So look, there's a time to sell. You don't want to live beyond your due date, right? Your buy through date. And I don't know what the future holds. I just know $10 billion is a really nice number. I don't know many things that you pass up. Look, it's like, hey, I love you. You're my cousin and all, but how much they want to give me for you? I don't mean that. I don't mean that like literally. But this is where emotions just gets disconnected. I mean, marriage is a beautiful thing, and it's spiritual, and God endowed it with spiritual virtues, but it was originally a business contract. Before 3,000 years before, God endowed it with spiritual components, which we get all wrapped up in. And now it's just become, oh, she's cute or he's handsome, which is even worse. But at least spiritual is a higher value than money itself. But it was a business contract. It was two families, often related, by the way, marrying to protect their economic interests. We get this thing twisted. You build a business, create value, and you need a liquidity event at some point, whether you're going public or you're selling it, or you're, I guess, if you really believe there's value, going into debt. But you need some way to, bonds or something, you need some way to unlock the value. And that's in a tradition. This is any business. Now, you talk about a space that has been undervalued for a long time. Like, you go back to not this iteration of professional players, but their mothers their fathers, well, some cases mothers, but mostly in the chauvinistic world we live in, mostly the pro players were men. My brother Reggie Jackson wasn't taking down some huge salary. Uh, Hank Aaron, who lived around the corner from me, God rest his soul, was not taking down a large salary at all. He made his money in automobiles and in business. Hank Aaron, I mean. So, by the way, so did Reggie Jackson. These contracts for athletes are a fairly new phenomena that are, it was 10 million. That was big not so long ago. 20 million, $100 million was, 10 years ago. Oh my God, right? And I just think that with the changing media landscape right now, because a lot of the sports franchises are monetizing themselves not based on people coming and buying a ticket and sitting in a seat. It's the media. It's a lot of this is tied to the value of the media contracts, the broadcasting rights. And I think if you go far enough to the North Pole, you end up south. I think that you ask my nephew what TV is, and he'll tell you it's YouTube. That's not me talking. I have an interest in people watching TV. I'm a contributor on a major brand. I don't want to say which name it is. I'm not trying to cast aspersions here, but it's mainstream TV. I don't get paid for it, but I mean I'm happy when they're successful. But I'm looking at cable. People are cutting the cord on cable. I'm looking at ESPN. I'm looking at all these traditional television stations, linear stations, cable, having to reimagine their business model. I'm looking at newspapers. Who knows what the future holds? I don't. Then you bring in AI. My God, right? And will these contracts persist for another 20 years or 10 or 5? I don't know. I know there's $10 billion staring the Bus family in the face right now, and it looks real attractive. And I just think that you don't get greedy, you don't get overly ambitious. You say really non-emotional about this, and say that's a really great deal. I need to move on to something else, and consider that a win. That's my answer. I think this is business at the end of the day. And this is a great. We're not talking about the entire franchise. We're not talking about the entire league. We're talking about one team in one city. $10 billion. My Lord, that's the GDP of a small country. Well, take the money and cash the check. Get the wire transfer as soon as possible.
But what you said about the changing media landscape really it lends itself to a larger conversation about the business of sports, because right before, or I don't think we ever imagined a world where the Boston Celtics and the Lakers would be sold in the same in a span of a few months. Right. Boston, they had the record being sold for 6.1 billion. Then you see what happened with the Lakers. They're 10 billion. Increasingly, leagues, specifically the NBA and the NFL, they're loosening the guardrails about hedge funds being involved in professional sports. I read an interesting piece recently that was written by a former ESPN colleague of mine who talked about the cost of what it costs now for the average fan to be able to watch their games, because everything's being split across multiple networks. You got your streamers, you have linear, like you have to subscribe to like 5 or 6 different things to watch one team. People have been operating on the assumption that sports, there's not a sports bubble. Like the bubble can't bust. They can only go higher. They can never go lower. But seeing these escalating trends and the changing landscape, what are your thoughts about whether or not, and as you just said yourself, you don't know where these contracts are going. I mean, we're on the cusp of getting a $500 million NBA player. Like they're going to be able soon to be able to make just $1 billion, the high level players, in just NBA salaries. With this escalating cost, how sustainable is this?
Not.
Well, thank you, John. There you go.
I mean, look, it is our professional sport. My brother, my dear friend Tony Rester, did a brilliant deal, not a smart deal, a brilliant deal for the Atlanta Hawks, in my opinion. And it has done wonders for Atlanta, the entire Southeast region, and it has spawned development across the street with Centennial Yards, creating a proper downtown in Atlanta, the biggest investment in Atlanta since Atlanta, and it's multiple times the size of his purchase of the Hawks, and it's got the city rallying, and there's a lot of knock-on effects. So you look at that, that's almost market building, city building stuff. That's not just a team. And the value of the team has gone up, but the knock-on value has also gone up. And that to me, that's more sustainable because it's entertain. Now you're talking about entertainment. You're talking about people. You're talking about the connective tissue of culture. Frankly, people are lonely these days. They want to hang out. They want to spend time with each other. There was, as you know, not during the pandemic, people were like, "Oh, I don't need to hang out with anymore. I'm just going to stay at home and do Zooms." But you realize the whole purpose of a dating app is so you actually meet somebody in person. Like, so we realize we actually that's the whole point of a dating app, right? And so I think that to the extent that sports connects with community, culture, that it creates stickiness and manages down depression and manages down loneliness to a point that in a way that people say that changed my life. Like that, I look forward to that on the weekend. I look forward to that on Tuesday. uh, I don't mind drudgery of work or whatever. That this friendships, this just rooting for my team or whatever, and then I go to a concert, and then I go to a restaurant or whatever before or after the game. I think that to the extent that it becomes more of Las Vegas in every city, Dubai in LA, right? A local cultural system situation that creates excitement and joy in our lives, then I think it extends its value point. And I do believe the media landscape is going to reinvent itself. I don't think it's going to go. I don't think it's going to explode. So I think sports is one of those unique things where you can extend the bubble. I do that. I think Ambassador Young is right though that men and women fail for three reasons. Jemele: arrogance, pride, and greed. So if people start becoming greedy, overly arrogant, and full of pride and refuse to, it just says, "Oh, this is going to go on forever," that's where I think that they're going to run into a wall. I think nobody wants to be punked. No one wants to be used. I think if fans start to believe it's a one-way street about getting paid and not giving pleasure, then I think that they will turn off. They will find a way to turn off from that as well. Um, I think this is an elegant. It has to be handled with suave white fair. It's like a relationship. It's like being married. You got to decide if you want to be married long term. You got to understand there's a difference between being right and being married. Like those two things are very different. Right? You can be right, you won't be married. Right? So I think that there's a nuance here that there's something with the streets and the suites have to get value, and there's been a lot of value now given to the suites. I think we have to start focusing on value back to the streets, and that's what I'm giving the example of here in Atlanta with the Hawks, where the Hawks purchase, if that was just about a few people making money and getting paid and extracting, I think the story would have a cap to, I think, like right now. But I think the timing was brilliant to inspire a $6 billion real estate development, which is 50 acres, which is going to create jobs and affordable housing and places to hang out and entertainment. Live Nation just signed a deal. It's got nothing to do with basketball, right? And you got soccer. Now you have soccer, football, concerts, basketball, all and relationship capital and culture, all creating GDP, by the way, and something for everybody. Hotels, all that stuff. I just think that that's the way you build it. It has to. You got to go horizontal, not just linear. I mean, not just vertical. And or put it another way, my rich friends need my poor friends to do better if only to stay rich. So we're at this point now where I think they got to reimagine the model. It's just not as simple as butts on seats times eyeballs on games equals media contract from legacy media minus value minus what I'm paying the players, and it equals you'll pay whatever I say to go see it. I don't think that simple math holds anymore. I think you got to be. The whole thing gets reimagined, in my opinion. I don't know the answer to that, but I know it's a new software upgrade. I know you can't keep doing the same thing $10 billion. I just keep going back to that number, right?
But
$10 billion for one team.
But here, I think that was a very, very poignant phrase that you said. It's got to make sense for the streets and the suites. And I think right now in the streets, there is an increasing feeling among sports fans that they're being pimped. Because if I have to
Hello.
pay $5, $5 to $7 for a subscription to Peacock just so I can watch a couple playoff games, okay, then I got to pay an additional to watch this game on this network. And then, of course, you have the sports bars, right? I don't know what they do because on a given night, they can't find the game because they might not have the right subscription. And if the only way that they can maintain this profit is by, okay, let me sell 10 games to Amazon, 20 games to Netflix. Let me have Netflix take over Christmas. Let me do this. If they keep doing that, and listen, I subscribe to all the things, so it's like not a
Mhm,
big deal.
mhm,
But I can certainly see a world where, to your point, and I don't know how they make fans feel a little more appreciated and a little more like
mhm,
their money's going further
mhm,
when the cost of just doing business in sports isn't going to go down. It's not going to ever go the opposite
mhm,
direction. It's only
mhm,
going this direction.
mhm.
So it's like I don't know how they can make fans not feel that way in this current financial landscape.
So let me give you an example. Well, first, I'm going to give you a bad example, and then I'm going to give you a good one.
Okay.
I'm going to give you an example that reaffirms what you just said about this is crazy and people feeling pimped. So at Operation Hope, we do coaching and counseling. Um, I am stunned about the number of Operation Hope clients who are financing a trip to Jamaica with one of these companies that are, you know, it's paymentized. Like people ask, what's the payment? And they're financing car rentals. They're financing trips to the islands. They're financing sports tickets. This is crazy to me. And so you now have a monthly payment. You went to a one-time situation, and now you're paying for a year to 18 months or more a monthly payment to pay that one-time situation. And now you've been paymentized with all these other monthly payments. And when your outflow exceeds your inflow, your overhead will be your downfall. And folks have got too much month at the end of their money. This is a real serious problem. And now they're financing sports tickets, not just, I mean, these are mostly like Super Bowl and think big, but you're talking about $5,000. I mean, you're talking about big numbers. Now, because they can't afford to just write the check, they have to finance it. So I think that that's going to hit a wall. Um, Let me tell you the good news. Um, I don't want to name the company because I'm not exactly sure of the exact name. You probably know, but there's a company in LA that has a small version of what they're doing in Las Vegas with what's that dome that you walk?
Oh yeah, the dome where you get to watch the games and
Yeah.
yep, they do.
So that's bringing virtual. That's AI technology, virtual reality, and the lifeblood of the game, and the energy of having other people around you in community into a less expensive, not cheap by any mechanism
No,
by any
because I
means.
was like, I've seen the prices. They're not,
But if you can 10x that, you can do 10 of, I'm making this up now, but if you can do 10 of those in each market for where there's a team and deliver those in community where people can go and hang out for 20% of the cost, maybe, of going to the actual game, uh, that might be a way to extend, broaden, and deepen and change the economics. That plus a few other things. Uh, I do believe that people are willing to continue to pay for. My wife loves the NFL, and I'm a motorsports guy, but she loves the NFL, and I'm paying a mortgage payment trying to get her so she can watch the NFL. I got like 5 subscriptions. I'm like, are we done yet? Are we there yet? Right? No, because this team, you can't watch this team on that platform. I'm like, well, this is
Yep.
real pimping. Like this is like I gotta send Roger Goodell a note. My man is like, he has mastered this. I love Roger actually, but I mean, the NFL is the biggest, isn't it the biggest
It's the
sports
biggest sport in
franchise
America.
in the world?
Not the world. It's the biggest sport
Not
in America.
in
Basketball,
America.
or I'm sorry, I'm tripping.
Soccer.
Soccer is the biggest sport in the world. Yes.
in the world. Yeah, but
Yep.
it's unbelievable what
Mm.
they've built, and I say kudos to them. And I think if you're doing that, and I think you also, Jed York is a friend of mine. He owns his family owns
The
the
49ers.
49ers,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and we do Hope Inside with them for the community right around the stadium. That eases tensions. It increases community pride. We're helping the workers who are seasonal workers in the stadiums, and that gives them more sense of that this is the team's reinvesting in community. We just signed a deal. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but the Reinsdorf family in Chicago, who own a couple teams there. We're doing the same thing. We will be doing the same thing there. Hope inside a community, hope inside the workplace, financial coaching and counseling, helping people to come up, to increase their credit score, lower their debt, increase their savings, increase their joy, and then give them some. This shows that the teams really do care about their community. And there's a few other owners that we're working with in the same way. I hadn't put these things together until this conversation. I had not like weaved all this together, but it does seem to me that the smart team owners are realizing that you can't just take.
Yeah. So before I get you out of here, there's two very important internet conversations not related to sports I want to ask you about, because anybody who follows you on Instagram knows that sometimes you see things that are going viral related to finance, like the music executive that chose to take a $99 Southwest flight as opposed to renting a private jet to Las Vegas. So you chime in on these social issues. I don't think I've seen you talk about this, but you probably did, and maybe I just missed it. I hate this conversation on everything, but yet I want to bring this up with you because I know you actually have some sense.
Well,
Give me your perspective on the never-ending 50-50 conversation.
Oh, no. Okay, which conversation are we talking about now?
Okay, so we're talking about in relationships. There's been the 50-50, like men and women in today's modern relationship should or shouldn't be going 50-50. I'll just quickly say there's so much about this conversation I don't understand, and I realize everybody runs their financial house the way.
Yeah, the answer is no.
Okay,
I mean,
there you go.
The answer is no. The answer is no. Look, the probably the most underrated position in the biggest economy in the world is that of a domestic engineer. That's the person who's not working, who's raising the children. Typically, traditionally, it's a wife. It can be the man, but if you're a domestic engineer, I mean, my God, I don't know how people do it. How do you raise these kids? It's thankless. The kids cursing you out and throwing stuff at you. You're going crazy and depressed. You don't see an adult around you for days on end. You feel you're locked out of the real world, and you get no credit. And then when your mate gets home, they want, when's dinner? When, entertain me, talk to me, dance for me, whatever. So look, whatever, you need to be paying that person a bonus. So that's whoever was earning the money got it easy. In our family, I built a house. My wife turns it into a home. I'm nothing with it. I mean, the house. This is a beautiful house, but it's soulless without her. That's valuable. I'm the head. She's the heart. I'm the chief business officer. She's the chief love officer. She's the chief cultural officer. She's the chief wellness officer. I mean, there's so many things that she's done to save my life that you can't put into a financial statement. Like, she's lowered my blood pressure. She, I found vegan cookies. I didn't know there was such thing as vegan cookies. I mean, the stuff that I use in my life that I never would have experienced had she not introduced me to it. Those things alone are game changers. And it's proven that if you are married, you're going to make more money. You're going to build more wealth just by virtue of you being married. So if you got too much month at the end of your money, then yes, it needs to be a very practical conversation between two people who are making, let's say, together $100,000. And if your household budget, if you're spending $80,000 in rent, mortgage, car note, whatever it is, groceries, all that stuff, if that's what your budget is, you're going to have to both go in together to split these bills. If you're lucky enough to live on one of those paychecks, The other paycheck should be used to invest money. So one person works, you make money during the day, you build wealth in your sleep. So one check is about paying household bills. I think all of them. The other paycheck should be used to buy stocks, bonds, invest in new ventures. But you guys are to talk about that together. But this whole concept that I owe you a paycheck, this is we're going in another direction where there are people who feel like this is some kind of job occupation, and because they're cute and the looks are going to fall, the butt's falling, the breasts are falling, the looks going away. I want to know what your credit score is, by the way. Because when all all the rest of that's gone, you're my business partner for life. What is your credit score? Cute? Yeah, that's overrated. So I think that this goes two ways. One, you don't get a free ride just because you're cute, just because you're fine, because you're handsome. That is highly overrated. I don't need to marry you to be indebted by you. What are you bringing to the table? If 2 plus 2 does not equal 6, 8, or 10 in a relationship, what are you doing? This is multiplication, not math. If you're not better together, what are you doing? I can do bad all by myself. I don't need help. To quote Quincy Jones, the only thing worse than being alone is wishing that you were. So I over answered your question.
No, but you gave a great answer. I mean, my answer would be 100. It's 100, really, because it's like we're both putting in. It's not 50-50. It's 100. I put in my 100. You put in your 100. And it's like, to your point, it's like we use them for different things as we organize our financial life. We use it. Okay, we when both me and my husband, we had real estate both coming in. We both owned our own homes, right? And
Yep.
so we both sold them, and we bought a house together, right?
Yeah.
On top of some other money that we had saved. It's like, and we took the sale proceeds, a lot of them, from what we sold our house, and we invested in that, because that was kind of the point of
And,
doing that, right? So it's
and,
100.
and being married, you got tax benefits
Correct.
that you would not have gotten had you married. If you filed married separately, married jointly has much more benefits. If you sell the property and you filed marriage jointly, you get as much as half a $500,000 in tax-free capital gains proceeds. There's a benefit of being married right there. There's many, many more benefits to being married, but there are some financial benefits. And I agree with you. You said it in a different way. It is 100. It's 100 if you broke. It's 100 if you're middle class, and it's just a different kind of 100 if you're wealthy. I don't need my wife to pay the light bill. I don't. But if she wants to go and do a business venture or whatever, well, she invested in Bitcoin. I'm not down with that. She used her own money. Knock yourself out. By the way, it worked for her. But if it goes sideways, she has me. Right? So she owns property. It has nothing to do with me. She owns a property. She's a little capitalist. She owns a property near the Obama New President Library. I tried to buy from her. She said, "No, that's my little nugget. You're not, you." Oh yeah. She said, "No, that's my nugget." I tried to buy from her. She has a problem in price property in Harlem. Now, if she ever needs me, I'm there for her. But I think she needed her own. She also needs her own achievement. She needs her own sense of accomplishment, right? Now, when you need me and we do stuff together, great. But I don't need to own your legacy, your life. That's not what this is about. It is 100, and 2 plus 2 should equal 6, 8, or 10. That's what you just described with what your guys are doing. You're better together. You're able to do things together you couldn't do apart. But you're going to be different. You are different. You're a female and he's a man. You're just different. And we must respect the difference. I'll give you one example. Ain't nothing to do with this podcast or this topic. I just really need people to hear this. You want to know what the difference is? A man will learn to love the woman he's attracted to. A woman tends to become more attracted to the man that she loves.
Okay, dropping a bar.
Now there's an exception to that rule, but that is generally a rule. Women are more mature. Women are more thoughtful. Women are, But that man, we're visual creatures. That's why a man will fall in love with a dummy, right? Because It's a visual thing for it. God knew what he was doing. God made women with body and long hair because he's like, these guys are Neanderthals, and women and women have blind spots too, right? But he understood that a woman is going to be looking for more, protection, safety, security, your heart, your soul. So again, a man will learn to love the woman that he's attracted to, but that woman will become more attracted over time to the man that she loves, and that's a beautiful coming together. It is one plus one equals 4, 5, 8, 10. It's 100 and 100, and that difference together is quite beautiful.
Even though I didn't expect us to take this turn, I'll make the messy question this, because what you just said was, that was some wisdom right there. In the year of our Lord 2025, John Hope Bryant, is a prenup essential?
It's not a bad idea. Look, as I told you, it's a business contract. I mean, it was business before it was personal. If the guy's going to be, whoever's making the money, because it could be the woman in this example, if they're going to be all wigged out and can't relax because they were traumatized because the last relationship jacked them up, then give them whatever it takes to make them comfortable. If they need a prenup, then that's cool. But if you're marrying somebody and you are looking at them sideways from Jump Street, like, I don't really trust you. I need a document. Probably the wrong person to be married. Probably. You should probably just date her, hang out, be engaged for 20 years. But you probably shouldn't be married. I think that whatever makes you comfortable. But here's a practical answer. Whatever I made before I've met you ain't none of your business. However you want to structure that. Whatever I made before I met you, none of your business. Why don't be trying to claw back and saying that you want half of no, that's just now you've confirmed that you ain't right. So there's no one should, if somebody wants a prenup, I think that it has a potential of messing up the vibe, messing up the energy if you got to press too hard for it. But if somebody wants that, the other person really should be okay with it, because it's like it's talking about what happened primarily before we got here. Now, from this day forward, if we're building together, why wouldn't I want to share with you? I wouldn't have it without you. I wouldn't have had the peace. I wouldn't have had the peace of mind. I would not have had the stability. I would not have had the ability to dream big dreams because of the foundation that my family gave me. So why wouldn't you want to? No different than why should you be resentful about paying taxes? You got roads that you didn't pay for the roads. You didn't pay for the lights. You didn't pay for the law enforcement, the structure. You're in the best structured rule of law nation, in spite of current situation in the world, in spite of current political situation, still in the world, rule of law. And that's why that's why it's a flight to quality. Everybody wants to invest in the United States. China's talking about, we hate the US. Meanwhile, they're all running here, and Russians running here to invest their money when the cameras go off, because this is a flight to quality. All these folks in the world, Iranians, North Koreans, they all want to invest here because it's a flight to quality. It's safe. So why should you be upset because you got to pay taxes? That's my partner. The government's my partner. You've helped me become wealthy. Now, when I paid the $1 million to the state of Georgia one year in state taxes, that I stopped every time I hit a pothole and sent a note to the congressman, the senator, the city council person, the commissioner, the mayor. I had them on speed. Hey, yo, y'all. Here is exact where the pot. Here's a photo of it, right? When you start paying taxes, you start getting real attentive. But I think that this is no different than this relationship. If I'm with you and we're together and we're partners in this, why wouldn't I want you to advance with me, and why wouldn't I want you to share reasonably in what you helped me create? With the exception of greed, all things in balance, I think, are reasonable. Alcohol in balance lowers your blood pressure. Drugs in balance are prescribed. Sleep is in balance. All these things in balance make sense. You get out of balance too much of any of these things, and you start having a problem. All of the addiction is an emotion you can't handle. And so when you become addicted to these unnatural things, including being addicted to money, or being if you're obsessing about this prenup, you shouldn't be married. You need to go to counseling, right? And if you're obsessing about not having a prenup, you shouldn't be married because you're trying to pimp this dude, and you because you're trying to hide the ball. I think it's no problem having the conversation and see how the person responds.